There I am. All right. All right. There we go. There we go. Hey, everybody. Let me see. Why am I not? Ooh, I don't know why. Maximize. Is that it? I don't know. StreamYard is being very funny, y'all. Greetings. Welcome to 773. Oracle and Tarot is your girl, Shy-Town Ronnie. I was just texting somebody. A friend of mine did a live stand-up. And he's just now getting back to me. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy about that. All right. And he said it went well. All right, y'all. Let's get this together. Let's get this. Good evening, Miss Autumn. Hold on. That's my baby. Hey, love. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Uh Baby, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just gonna tell you the way it is. And I've been going through some stuff, not me personally. Don't get me wrong. I missed you too, love. I missed you too. And I'm doing my best to keep I'm doing my best to keep, to keep the content going. And I know that a part of that is greetings, Miss Yvette. Greetings, Miss Yvette. And and I know a part of that is going live and everything, but I'm not gonna lie to you. With everything that has been going on, and you all know that I'm embroiled with a situation, and I'm trying to see somebody, come through at least to the point where they're stable. A lot of that has been eating up my time. So that's where I'm at with this. Okay, so let me pull it all together. All right. So when I'm in those states, number one, I'm not doing any readings, because if my mind is not clear, I don't want to give anybody a reading that they don't deserve. I want to make sure I give you the very best I have to offer. And tonight I just wanted I wanted to let you guys know. So earlier today, I went and I had lunch with a friend of mine, and somehow the topic of parents and parental dynamics, particularly with mothers, we got onto that subject. And I was raised I was raised Roman Catholic, and the commandments were very much instilled in us. And as good kids, you just do what you're told. You know what I'm saying? You don't question shit. So with that being said, in combination with the conversation I was having with my friend, right off the bat, that commandment, honor thy mother and thy father, that got mixed into the conversation. And so, that commandment, honor thy mother and thy father, it sounds good. It sounds simple, it sounds holy, it sounds right. But what happens when your parents are hurting, or when your parents are broken, or when they're toxic? What happens when honoring them starts to cost you your peace, or your joy, or your sanity? Tonight I want to break that down, and I want to explain how you can honor yourself first, without any kind of shame, or without guilt, and still hold space for your parents' humanity. So, people here honor their father and their mother, and they think it's about, they think, obey, comply, submit, you know, but that's not it at all. This this commandment is about recognizing your parents as a human being on their journey, while also taking responsibility for your own life. Now, honoring them doesn't mean tolerating harm. Love is not love is not approval for abuse. When I think of that, the hierophant, that comes into play. The hierophant. Oh, wait, here it is, the hierophant. I'm sorry. The hierophant represents authority. It represents structure and tradition. But in this light of honor thy father and thy mother, are these rules serving your growth, or are they chains? Now, there was a Lebanese poet. His name was Kahil Gibran. That's him right there. And he wrote this book called The Prophet. In his book, The Prophet, Kahil says, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. That's deep. That's deep. Children are born through their parents, but their spirits, their souls, their life, the path, and their destinies, that is completely their own. Parents do not own them. Parents are guides and nurturers, not controllers. What this means is that children have a separate identity and a separate purpose. And parental expectations or parental controls or attempts to mold them can create tension or block growth. We are all somebody's children. But the fact is that as children, we are a divine expression in our own right, not a reflection of parental will. So the takeaway from this, the parental takeaway from this, parents honor their roles as guides without overstepping into ownership. Children can claim autonomy and set boundaries and follow their own path without guilt. Now, let me say this. When I talk about children, I'm not talking about, the way a segment of society, what they do is like, when I mean children, I mean they're in the bassinet and they're telling mommy and daddy what to do. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that a lot of us, we are byproducts of our parents and their generational curses, their generational traumas. And what I'm saying is that as children, we come in the world without adding to that. We should not be the subjects of that. All right. So I wanted to get that together. I'm not saying that when I say a children needs to set boundaries, I'm not saying that little Johnny, who's, 11, 12, 13 years old, is going to say what's, is going to rule the house or nothing like that. I'm not saying that, okay, little Becky is going to go live with her, 32-year-old boyfriend when she said that's not what I'm talking about. So we have all, at one point or another, we have all uh, um, been a victim of our parents' trauma. So, so we are all the walking wounded, and children of wounded parents. We often carry guilt, we carry fear, and obligation. Thinking that if I just behave, maybe they'll heal. And we take on adult roles way too early, and that's emotional labor that was never ours to carry. On a psychological level, we come into this world with people pleasing. We get anxiety over doing something wrong, and then we have trouble asserting our boundaries. And like with tarot, that looks like the 10 of wands right there. Carrying burdens that don't belong to us. Okay? A child constantly mediates, the parents' arguments, and internalize blame and sacrifice their own needs to keep the peace. And as children, we never recognize that this isn't our fight. We never recognize that we can step back mentally or physically. If at any given point right now this is resonating with you, you don't have to put it in the chat, but I want you to affirm. Just affirm. I release responsibility that is not mine. I release responsibility that is not mine. All right? So, with that being said, in spite of my appearance, I am Latina, and I mostly identify with Latino and Black culture. This is for everybody, but I can only speak about what I know for sure. So here is some historically honest truths that are very inconvenient that Latino and Black communities do not want to face when it regards, how honor thy father and thy mother affected Black and Latino communities. So with that being said, this commandment didn't just land spiritually in the Black and Latino communities, it got reshaped by survival. This commandment got reshaped by colonization and by slavery and by power, and that matters. In the Black community, for Black families, the commandment became a survival strategy, not just a moral rule. During slavery and Jim Crow, questioning authority could get you killed. Respect, obedience, silence, and compliance were ways to stay alive. And parents taught children, don't talk back, don't challenge, don't give them a reason. So honor thy father and thy mother turned into obey your elders without question. Suppress your anger, suppress your fear, suppress your grief. Carry the family name, reputation at all cost. And in doing that, what got lost was the child's emotional reality. the child's right to question harm, the child's individuality. The commandment slowly shifted from honor to endurance. And children learned being strong mattered more than being honest. Respect meant silence. Love meant sacrifice. So honoring parents often required self-erasure, not mutual respect. Now, here is something that I know for sure. In Latino communities, in Latino cultures, honor thy mother and thy father. That commandment fused with family, and it was fused with Catholic doctrine. We were taught that family loyalty was sacred, that the elders were authority, that God, parents, and tradition were rarely questioned. Honor thy father and mother became put family before yourself. Don't shame the family. Obedience equals love. Children were expected to carry emotional burdens very early. We were taught to translate, to mediate, and to sacrifice. Choose careers, choose partners, choose lifestyles that preserved the family identity. And what got lost was emotional boundaries. What got lost was personal autonomy. The idea that love doesn't require guilt. So honoring parents often meant in an emotional debt. And we've all heard it, after everything I've done for you. We've heard it. Both communities share trauma that was passed down as tradition. Survival rules were mistaken for divine law. And the commandment was used to maintain control, not to cultivate wholeness. In both communities, disagreement was labeled disrespect. Boundaries were labeled as being selfish. And healing was labeled rebellion. A child's role became caring the unhealed, not to question the past. Keep the family intact, even at personal cost. And the long-term impact for that, this commandment, as practice, created adults who feel guilty for choosing themselves. Fear around setting boundaries with parents. Confusion between love and obligation. Loyalty that cost mental and emotional health. People learned to honor parents by abandoning themselves. This commandment was never meant to mean to accept harm, to stay silent, or to carry inherited trauma. Honoring was meant to be recognition, not submission. Honoring was meant to be respect, not control. Honoring was meant to be gratitude, not a lifelong debt. For Black and Latino communities, especially, reclaiming this means I honor my parents' sacrifice without inheriting their wounds. I respect my elders, but I don't have to surrender my identity. My life is not a repayment for survival. This isn't about, this isn't about disrespecting the culture. This is about evolving it because a commandment meant to preserve life should never require someone to lose themselves to obey it. Boundaries are sacred, they're not sinful. You don't have to let a parent's anger or manipulation or neediness dictate your life. You can love without enabling. Let me give you an example, you all. Your mother calls you every day to unload her drama and the guilt trips, and guilt trips you into not solving her problems. You are quite you have the authority. You've got the permission to say, I hear you, I love you, but I can't take this on today. Let's talk about this when we can both be calm. When and with that, you are setting a clear boundary without rejecting her. Emotional boundaries protect your energy and they protect your feelings. Let me give you another example. I got some male friends, and there is a set of dynamics between the sexes, and with men, because men do not process their feelings. Like, for my guy friends, I hear that their dad will criticize their life choices. you know, oh, if you had just married so and so, or if you took that job, blah, 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 or if you just stayed in school, you wouldn't, blah, 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 whatever it is, the dynamic between a father and a son, that is a rough one, not rougher than a mother and daughter. No, that's the ultimate. But between two men, because you are talking about uh, um, an immovable object and an irresistible force when you talk about that shit. So there they go. Dad calls him up and is criticizing every fucking thing. You are capable of remaining calm and saying, I hear your perspective. I'm making choices that work for me. Or you can step away from the conversation. You are not rejecting him. You're just rejecting the toxicity. Your parents' healing is theirs. That's not your responsibility. We got parents that are struggling with addiction. Feeling responsible for their recovery keeps you trapped in guilt. You can affirm, I love you and I want the best for you, but your journey is yours. And I'm going to release the need to fix this. You can affirm for yourselves. You know what? Let me do it. You can affirm, I honor my life, my peace, my truth, while I recognizing my parents' humanity. You can do that. And that, you all, that right there, that is strength. The courage to stand firm with gentle power and self-protection. Yeah. You can recognize their pain. You don't have to excuse their harmful actions. If your parent was emotionally distant growing up, as adults, as adults, we we have autonomy. We can allow that shit to shape us, or we can be responsible for our healing. So, as I was saying, when a parent was emotionally distant, we can affirm for ourselves, I acknowledge your struggle without giving away my power. You can forgive to release your own pain without condoning the neglect. I was having lunch with my girlfriend, and at a certain point, I was looking at her across the table, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh my god, she's so beautiful." And she she is working at making herself as happy as she could be. But I felt this, how do I want to say it? I felt that it was an effort. And though I didn't want to go in real deep, I was able to be honest with her for a minute. And somebody when somebody is around other people's energies and they can pick that up, it's a big responsibility on these energy people, the energy workers, to know how much to give. I was in the moment and I was balancing a lot of things. But if I could do it all over again, I would just want to take her hand and I would just want to say, stop carrying this weight of you should have done more or you have to make them happy. This feeling of obligation to check in constantly or to apologize for things that are not your fault, we gotta let that go. We can affirm. We can affirm. I release guilt that is not mine. I'm responsible for myself, not others' emotions. I'm responsible for myself, not others' emotions. I release guilt that is not mine. You can empathize. You can empathize without letting them control your life. I'm blessed. Let me say this. Growing up, the relationship between myself and my mother was not easy. It was not easy. I'm so grateful that I came into the knowledge that I came into. And that was to the best of my mother's ability. She did what she could with what she had. My mother has never been a burden. My mother has never been a burden. But there are many people out here that their parents are always asking them for financial support, but they make poor decisions. And that's a whole nother shit. That's a whole nother shit. You can guide or support without sacrificing your own stability. You can tell your parent, you can say, I cannot give you that, but I can help you find a solution that works for you. And in that balance, that's temperance right there, baby. This is balance. This is integration, maintaining harmony without self sacrificing. You can affirm. I forgive without giving away my power. I forgive without giving away my power. And I love without losing myself. Yeah, that one came in hot. That affirmation came in hot. I forgive without giving away my power, and I love without losing myself. Being a parent is rough, you all. We have generational trauma, and this misapplied obedience can repeat these cycles of dysfunction. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. You tolerate emotional abuse because you were taught to always obey. And then you unconsciously replicate that with your own kids. Stop the cycle. Stop the cycle. That neutralizing statement in your mind, if you're a parent, you can say to yourself, I will honor my parents in thought, but I will not carry their dysfunction forward. I will honor my parents in thought, but I will not carry their dysfunction forward. It stops here. And as I said, there are communities, there are cultures that weaponize this commandment to enforce being submissive. Don't talk back to your elders, even when they're disrespectful. You all can speak your truth respectfully. You can look at that elder and say, I hear you, and I will not disrespect you. I will also not disrespect myself. And let me tell you something, y'all. When I got done having lunch with my friend, I was at Starbucks, and baby, let me tell you something. I do talk to text, and I write that on my notes. And as the words are coming out, I'm thinking, well, Ronnie, do you do that? You know what? I'm a work in progress because I'm telling you, this mouth is slick, but I also know where that mouth came from. And that mouth came from years of having to defend myself. So that is shit that I've got to dislodge. But self-awareness is the first key. So I'm just being upfront with you all. I was divinely inspired to come and do this. I am just the messenger. I am far from perfect. And trust me, when this transcript goes up, I will be reading this shit myself because there are concepts that I'm telling you right now that I've got to implement in my damn self. So again, don't talk back to your elders even when they're disrespectful. You can speak your truth. You can speak it respectfully. And like I said, you can look at those elders and like, I hear you. I will not disrespect you, but also I'm not going to disrespect myself. Honoring your parents does not cancel your growth. Choosing a career, choosing a partner, choosing a lifestyle your parents disapprove of, you can acknowledge their feelings. I respect your perspective, but I got to follow my path. Y'all got to ask yourselves. Y'all got to ask yourselves these questions. You got to be very, very honest with yourselves. Where do you feel obligated to honor someone at your own expense? How can you acknowledge your parents' journey without sacrificing your peace? The moon card that illuminates the illusions, that illuminates the hidden patterns and the emotional fears. And when we can honestly answer those questions, then we come into this, y'all, the chariot, because we are reclaiming control and we're taking the driver's seats in our life. And when you do that, babies, when you do that, you get to hear the sun. Just pure joy, pure joy. You're on your way. You're on your way. Y'all, put the link in there. Anybody want to come up and say anything, please feel free. But I gotta tell you, um, there are some things that inspire me. And in that conversation with my girlfriend, that was one of them. And I know if she was feeling it, I know a lot of people were feeling it too. And if you want to know the truth, it felt good for me to do this because it made me review my relationship with my mother and how I was going to how I was going to better improve on that. So yeah, that's what we do. That is what we do. Hold on, let me get this off. All right, there we go. All right. I put the link in the chat. If no one wants to come up, we good. We good. I could sign off. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Yeah, and that's about it. I am definitely going to be try to do more of these things, but like I said, you all, with the subject that I have going in my personal life, finally another agency stepped in, and that may be taking a lot of the load off of me. And yeah, so things are going to be lifting for me, and making sure that this other individual is safe and is okay. That's priority number one. And I will say this much. It got me to thinking about a lot of things because at the end of the day, I want my life to mean something. And I think this was the doorway that I needed to start walking towards because I'm healthy, and I still have the passion, but there are people out there that need advocacy. And I'm thinking maybe, I can help them because in Chicago, in the middle of winter, in a world-class city, in one of the richest planets on the nation, we are normalizing people living in fabric shelters in sub-zero weather, and that to me just does not make sense. And it's a complex problem, and I don't know what I can do to help, but I no longer can sit idly by anymore. All right, y'all. I dropped the link. Nobody wants to come up. That's fine. Listen, thank you for joining me tonight. You all stay in alignment. Stay in alignment. That is your assignment. When shit gets too heavy, close your eyes. Envision what it is you want. While you're in that vision, I want you to ask the universe, show me how good it can be. And then let it go. and then let it go. All right. All right, you all. Miss Yvette, Miss Autumn, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you both. And yeah, tomorrow is Sunday. I'm gonna start getting ready for my week. And that's about it. Okay. All right, y'all stay blessed. Thank you.